When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll tour. When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll.
Hey, Tyler.
Hey, Piet.
What's going on? Welcome to the New Score Podcast. My name is Pat. This is my co-host, TYG, Tyler Pratt. Tyler, how we be doing?
Depressed, just to be quite frank. It's been a tough 12 hours. I mean, it really a tough 14. I think last night around midnight is when I saw the tragic news, and I couldn't sleep. I think I only got 4 hours of sleep. It's been rough, sadly enough.
Just the magnitude. I mean, this has to be the most shocking trade in sports history. To me, I know it is. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of. I'm sure there will be other trades that people can bring up, and you'll be like, yeah, apples to oranges, but no, in recent memory, I can't think of one. I mean, out of nowhere too. Like this went, no news, no nothing,
Right.
no speculation, just out of nowhere.
First of all, it's been a while. It's great to see you. It's great to be on here talking. When this news broke, we texted each other, and I woke up today, and there's just so many different things to talk about with this trade. There's so many angles you could take this, like in different conversations that we're gonna have about this trade. I said we gotta hop on and record today, and obviously it's unique to this podcast because Tyler, if nobody knows watching, is all Dallas sports fan, so this one really hit close to home. So I'm excited, just to get it from actual, diehard Dallas Mavericks fan, like that point of view, that like hurt, that feeling that you're going through. Me just being neutral, I'm shell shocked. There's a lot I have to say about this trade. And like I said, just so many different angles, I want to dive into. But starting off, I mean, we got to just say it. Luka Doncic traded from the Dallas Mavericks to the Los Angeles Lakers. The return was Anthony Davis. Was it Max Christie? Max Christie was the other player. And then one first-round pick, 2029, I believe it was, from LA in return. So just saying that out loud still, it's like, what the hell happened? When I found out, I was just rolling over in bed last night, and I was like, fuck it, I'll throw on YouTube, find something to fall asleep to. It's usually what I do is I'll just fall asleep listening to something on there. And as soon as it came up on my feed, like the headline, Luka, like a Laker, Luka to the Lakers, something like that. And I just thought, like that time of night, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like they're doing, like a hypothetical what if, maybe like a fantasy draft, something like that, something fun podcast, just kind of trying to do something. And then like I heard it play a little bit, and I was like, wait, this. And then I turn over, look at my phone, and I have 8 notifications from ESPN, and I'm like, oh, fuck. So I pull it up, and I see, like, shit's real. Like, it's real life. It really happened. Like, Luka got traded from Mavs to the Lakers, and us being on the East Coast, just like in the middle of the night. And I know the Lakers just played last night, beat the Knicks, and LeBron looked great in that game, I guess. And it's like after that, middle of the night to us, Luka Doncic is a Laker. And there was no rumblings, anything. Like any trade nowadays, I feel like maybe it's just me. I feel like any trade that goes down, you hear about it weeks in advance. Like, hey, this guy's being shopped. Hey, this team's unloading. This team's doing this. There's always room. Like, there's so much. There's so many heads in the media nowadays that shit leaks so easily. And all these different camps that these players have, especially in the NBA, you're going to hear about something before it happens. And the fact that everybody, including the players, like this shocked everybody. Like it seems to me the only two people that weren't shocked were the GMs who were making the deal. It's just so out there, so just sporadic and random. Again, before I keep ranting on, and there's a lot I want to dive into about this, like tell me just the initial feeling, the initial reaction, like what you thought. Like, did you think it was a joke as well?
No, I was sick, like as a Mavs fan, just because you instantly look it up, and I'll back up to when I found out last night watching a show, same shit, right? I'm rolling over. I'm basically ready for bed too. It's midnight. It's like past midnight at this point. And I just happened to see a text from Weed in our group chat, and he just said unreal trade. So I'm like, oh, okay, I Googled NFL trade at first because I'm like, let me see what he's talking about. And I'm looking through, I'm not seeing anything. And I'm like, all right, fuck, well, NBA trade. And first thing you see is Luka Doncic Lakers, Luka this. I'm like, no fucking way. There's no shot. This is real, right? And there it is, report. You got fucking Woj, Shams, right? Shams, all these guys, these respected reporters who are credible, and it's real. And you sent me that link to the Bill Simmons pod, and with is it Russo and
Russillo, yeah.
Russello and another guy, Rob, and everyone's same consensus thing. Everyone's shocked. You go on Instagram, multiple posts about it. You see like KD's on his phone looking at Brad Beal, and they're looking at each other like, what the fuck? And then they show like the Portland Trailblazers bench. Everyone's looking at their like NBA players in a current live game are looking at their phones because this trade is that crazy. Everyone's shocked. That nobody anticipated this, obviously. How could you? We're talking Luka at his worst, top 5 player in the NBA. At his best, you're comparing him with Jokic, Giannis, like
as far as value,
right?
like,
As far as and it's like, and that's the thing. When you unpack this, you're like, and you put yourself in the shoes of one of the GMs, because, like you mentioned, the only two people who knew that this was even a thing were Rob Pelinka and Nico Harrison, and that's it. Even Jason Kidd in the press conference that I listened to, that was at 2 p.m. today, he even said he was shocked. He had no idea it was happening. And how could you? You're trading a top 5 talent. He's 25 years old. What are you doing? Right? So, I guess to circle back to answer your question, yeah, I was sick. I couldn't sleep. What the fuck just happened? It's one of those things where you're doing so much research, and the worst part about it is it's like hard to be excited because of what the return is. Don't get me wrong, Anthony Davis is an incredible player when healthy, but the other aspect to the trade, right? Max Christie and a first round pick, like anytime you get a player of that caliber, there's 5 to 8 picks in the trade, all first rounders, maybe a second round. We're talking 3 to 4 outright first picks, no protection, and then swaps.
Mikal Bridges was 5.
Does anybody even put Mikal Bridges in their top 30? And we're talking a top 5 player. You get 1 first round pick, and we already know the Mavs gave away all their draft capital to get the current guys on the roster, like Daniel Gafford, Kyrie, PJ Washington. They gave up all their draft capital. If you're going to give up Luka Doncic, you got to get that back. And the worst part about it, and I guess I'll let you get into it on this. The worst part about it to me is that they didn't talk to anybody else. It was just the Lakers. They didn't even think about reaching out to another team. And I'll leave it at that, and I'll get into how it all started. But it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, just piggybacking off of that, I mean, we could just sit here and talk about his value real quick. You said it, 25 years old, perennial MVP candidate year in, year out. If you put Luka Doncic in to win the MVP at the beginning of the year, that's a good bet, I feel like. This season, unfortunately, he's been banged up. He's out of the running for that because he's missed too much. He's not going to be all NBA like he has been, I believe, the last 3 seasons. He's just been out too much this year. And we're going to get into that as well when it comes to, the Mavs' point of view and their perspective on it. But just speaking about his value alone, perennial MVP candidate, guy just carried you to the NBA Finals last year. You went right through the Western Conference into the NBA Finals last year. You were right there. I mean, we went to Dallas last year, saw this dude in person, and we just looked at each other after some of the shots that he was making in clutch time to put the game away to win the game. It's like we just looked at each other with our eyes wide open, and just like, what the fuck is this dude? He is generational. There's superstars in sports, and then there's generational guys. Like, you got all these great quarterbacks in the NFL that, all these superstars, and then there's the generational. It's just basketball. You have superstars everywhere. You got all-stars, superstars. Luka Doncic is a generational player who you don't trade that. You don't trade that because, to be honest, I don't know if 10 first-round picks and the other team's best player, I would still take that trade for Luka Doncic. That is his level of talent, just the level of skill, ability. He's been playing professional ball since he was like 14, 15 years old over in Europe. Like, he is once in a lifetime special. You don't trade that. You do everything in your power to make that guy happy and want to stay. And the crazy thing is, he wasn't even asking to be traded. Like we said, there was no speculation, nothing. He wasn't unhappy with where he was at. From everything, to me, he loved playing in Dallas. He loved Dallas. He loved that relationship with Dirk, how he kind of, took the torch from Dirk and replaced him. Nothing, none of these things. He wasn't asking out, and you got rid of him. You blindsided Luka Doncic. There's, like I said, when we talk about value in the NBA, I wouldn't take 10 picks and the other team's best player. I wouldn't take Anthony Davis and 10 first-round picks from the Lakers. First of all, those picks aren't going to mean shit. Back, it's not like the Lakers are going to be in the lottery when you trade them Luka, okay? So that 2029 first-round pick, like, whoop-de-fucking-do. You don't think the Lakers are going to be good in 2029 with Luka there? And then they have some time, to build the team more around him. We saw what Luka's done carrying a Dallas team to the Western Conference Finals 2-3 years ago, and their second best player was who in the playoffs? Tim Hardaway, maybe. Like, he carried that team, and then they get Kyrie last year, and they make it to the finals, but it was still Luka, paving the way for them, and you traded that guy. It's not even about the return to me, Tyler. I don't give a fuck what you give me back. I'm never trading Luka Doncic. And I can guarantee you every other GM in the NBA has the same, like, they're not trading Luka Doncic because he's once in a lifetime special, just what he could do on a court. And it's like, okay, Dallas, you're worried about his diet, his routines, all of these things off the court, like that he's not working hard enough for your liking. I don't give a fuck. The numbers he's putting up, he's in the MVP race every single season. He just took your team to the finals last year, and you're going to accuse him for what his shit is off the court, and you don't like the shape that he's in? Who gives a fuck? He's 25 years old. He's still young. He's maybe a little immature, and he just hasn't figured out, the whole, like, mama mentality, I guess, side of things and what it's going to take. He doesn't have that drive maybe at this point, but look what he's doing without that drive. So you're telling me you're willing to give up the possibility of what he could be? He's not even in his prime yet. He's doing all this thing weighing, 260, 255. He's not cut. He gets winded on the court. Look what he's doing now. And you're telling me after you piss him off and trade him to LA, like that's not going to motivate him right now. And that's going to be scary. When Luka flips that switch and, he really starts investing everything into the game basketball, it's going to be scary, dude. Because it's like, look what he's doing now. You look at him and you're like, there's no way he's out there just killing the whole league, but he is. So him with that motivation, that's just another. But again, I'm never trading Luka. And the only player I'm considering maybe is Wemby, because that's another generational player. It's like, even then, I still got to see it more. Like, it's all potential. We've seen it from Luka since he stepped foot in the league, and he's only fucking 25. And then talking about the return, you get Anthony Davis, who's always banged up. You're mad at Luka for missing all these games now. What are you going to get with Anthony Davis? He's not going to play every back-to-back. You're not going to be able to rely on this dude to stay healthy down the stretch for you. And he's 31. He's not in his prime anymore. He's still a great player, but he's past, what he was. And like 5 years down the road, what's Anthony Davis versus Luka Doncic at that point? And you get a throw in and Max Christie and one pick. It's just bizarre, absolutely bizarre. To speak on your GM, Nico, I want to bring up a quote. So his quote, I guess you could call it his defense to why the Mavs did what they did. He said, "I believe that defense wins championships." That was his motivation to trade Luka for Anthony Davis. He said, "I believe that getting an all-defensive center and an all-NBA player with a defensive mindset gives us a better chance. We're built to win now and in the future." First of all, Anthony Davis wasn't happy that he had to play the 5 all the time with the Lakers. So now you're putting him in Dallas in the same situation where he doesn't want to have to play the 5, but you're telling me that he's going to be your all-defensive center. Now, I think the Mavs are built good, like that front court with the 4 and the 5 between, Gafford and AD, and I know Lively's out, but I don't disagree with that. You're going to be pretty good defensively in the front court if Anthony Davis is healthy and out there playing. But you took that risk in taking that on, and what you lose just offensively and the way Luka's able to make everyone around him play better because he's always freeing up the floor. Anthony Davis is not just coming up the court with the ball in his hands, freeing up the court for everybody and getting everybody an open shot. Like, that makes everybody around you what Luka is capable of doing for your whole team. But just talk about the return, the value aspect of it. Like a 31-year-old banged up AD who's out now, just like Luka, and a 25-year-old generational, once in a lifetime phenom.
Yeah, to comment on Nico Harrison's comment of we're built to win now and in the future. Yeah, you're half right. You are built to win now. I get it. The Mavs' biggest need was getting a 4 because Anthony Davis is going to come in. He's going to slide right into the 4 spot. You're going to have Gafford, and when Lively returns, they'll split the duties at the 5 spot. He won't have to really play the 5 unless those guys get into foul trouble, or, he'll obviously get there in certain lineups, right? Or if guys are out, miss time, whatever the case is, he's going to play a little bit of 5, but he'll be at his most natural position in the 4 there. But to win, like in the future, how? He's 31, and he'll be turning 32 in a month in February, right? We're basically there. He turns 32 this year. Luka will turn 26 in March. So he's 6 years the elder. And then you bring in Max Christie. Yeah, he's 21, but it's Max Christie. We're talking about a role player, right? Like a young guy who is an okay shooter, who's got a defensive mindset, and that's what they're trying to do, right? Defense wins championships, and then you get a first-round pick. It doesn't, and that's it. Right. Oh, and they gave up a second rounder, by the way, to the Utah Jazz, who are a third team partner in this, by the way. I can't name the player that they got, some young prospect from the Lakers, but they got a couple second round picks just to be part of the trade. So it's not so much like, I know when people think future, they're thinking, and me too, to an extent, right? You're thinking 5 to like 10 years. Like that's what I think future. I'm thinking long term. Nico Harrison's, when he says and in the future, he's talking about a time frame, right? So he's talking about the time frame that they have with Kyrie, PJ, Gafford, and the core that they've assembled, which I do want to kind of, Nico Harrison right now, everyone's Mavs fans are out for his head. Mavs fans want Nico the fuck out of here. And I don't blame him. But up until this trade, he's done an amazing job. He's the one who brought in Kyrie for what seems like pennies on the dollar. He brought in Gafford, who I was kind of league-wide viewed as maybe a role player center, and he's come in and proved like he's a starting center in this league, and he can be great defensively. He brought in PJ Washington, who was just playing in Charlotte, so PJ kind of slid under the radar. PJ's a fucking dog. So he did a great job assembling all this. And by the way, one of the guys he gave up to get Kyrie is back on the team and now starting at point guard, which is Spencer Dinwiddie. So he did a great job doing all this, but then you make this trade and you want to go to the how and the why. So the why was kind of already talked about, right? The fact that they don't believe Luka is committed to staying in shape. Right now, Luka's, I think, a little south of 270, but that's the rumor right now, right? Like he's on almost 270 pounds. He's been hurt for like 4 to 6 weeks. So he probably hasn't been working out. He's probably just been sitting around. Maybe he got a little lazy. Who knows, right? That's just a report. Who knows how true it is, right? He's 6'7", so 270 is a little overweight, but we're talking about an NBA player who has never really had an issue staying on the court ever, as you pointed out. He's, to be considered as an all-NBA honor, you have to play a minimum amount of games, which he has hit every season in his career. Anthony Davis has played 70-plus games. Last year was the first time since, I think, 2018. He hasn't played 70-plus games in 6 years until last year. So we're talking about trading a guy who you're worried about his conditioning for a guy who's had trouble even staying on the court. So how can you confidently consider him as being a short and long-term solution to your problem? That's the thing. If you don't give up Luka, you don't give up Kyrie, and you get Anthony Davis, it's a whole different conversation. But even if you give up Kyrie to get Anthony Davis, it's a whole different conversation. When you're giving up Luka, who's 25, Kyrie's 34, right? 33, 34. How many more years does he have left at this pace? I'll tell you what, not many. Not everybody's LeBron. Not everybody's going to be putting up, 28 and 7 when they're 40. Kyrie's not that kind of guy. So the how is Nico Harrison and Rob Pelinka are good buddies. They used to work together in LA. And they had a conversation over coffee and was like, would you ever? Maybe. It's Luka Doncic. What do you mean? And maybe, right? Like, yeah, of course you're going to entertain the idea. So this whole thing started over coffee because the Mavs apparently, aside from the whole conditioning aspect of things, are not confident that Luka was going to commit to the Supermax, which to me is a little out there because that's 5 years, $350 million. This guy's going to be making $70 million a year. You're telling me he's going to turn that down and go make $40 million a year somewhere else? He's going to give up $100 million to go play somewhere else? I doubt it. So, and he didn't request the trade. There's never been reports of him not being happy in Dallas. So this all starts over a cup of coffee. And as they go, okay, I get it. Luka is not the best defensive player, and you really want to build this culture of defense. But like, again, the return, it just doesn't make sense. So I'm still not sold on everything that I've heard from Nico Harrison on the why they did it. I'm still waiting for more. Like I'm still waiting for someone to come out and be like, oh yeah, no, the Lakers are sending them more picks. Like I'm just like, I don't get it. I still don't get it. After everything I've heard, all of the research I've been doing in the last 16 hours still doesn't really make sense to me. So I don't really know where you go from here other than just fucking playing now, right? If you're the Mavs, you just on to the next one. They had a players meeting today. Apparently nobody had questions. I'd have a bunch of questions. Everyone's shocked. Oh, well, I'll pass it off there, but I got plenty on their current roster right now.
Go ahead. That was my next question was how do you think their roster, like, because when you said the fans are out for the GM's head, I just thought about like the rest of the home schedule for those fans, like showing up to the arena, and you're used to seeing like all the billboards, all of like the highlights, just the recognition, appreciation for 77. And now that's out the window out of nowhere.
Mhm.
That's something as a fan you were expecting for the next 10 years. And like I said, that's a player you don't trade. So, and like I said, Dirk finished his career there, and you thought like that was kind of the same feeling for Luka, like he was going to finish out his career with Dallas. And as a fan,
Mhm.
that's what you want to hope and expect. Just not having that anymore out of nowhere, like Luka's just out of our lives until he comes here and wants to kill us
Yep. Mhm.
for trading him. It's just as a fan perspective, that's got to be tough. Like season ticket holders who are going like those next couple of home games, it's going to be. But yeah, my next question was the current roster, like morale. It's got to be so weird for them. Like I said, nobody knew. Apparently, LeBron didn't even know. Like LeBron
Mhm.
found out of nowhere that this trade happened as well. And he's somebody who's always working behind the scenes.
Right.
And obviously he wasn't trying to trade his boy AD, who he's cucked the Lakers into, trading for, I think it was 6 years ago. And obviously LeBron and AD, Clutch Sports, Rich Paul, they've cucked the Lakers in a lot of decisions over these years, including drafting his son. But that's another conversation. Talking about current roster for Dallas, how do you think this team stacks up, and what is the morale at right now?
Yeah, the morale's got to be a huge question mark. They start a game in 20 minutes. They're playing against the Cavaliers, by the way, who nobody really wants to play right now. And they have got 6 or 7 starters, not all starters, but 6 or 7 guys out, including 3 starters. Like, they're going to get absolutely smoked today. So on top of all of this news of trading away a mega star, they're going to lose by 50 points. So it's going to be a tough little stretch. And I feel bad for Anthony Davis because you now know, like, you're that guy that basically, and I don't want to put it this way, but like nobody wants in Dallas. Like, nobody wanted you. No fans were like, let's go get Anthony Davis. And now you're the guy that we gave up for Luka Doncic, who we all loved and hate to see him go. And generally everyone's pissed off. So I kind of feel a little bad for AD that he's like just in the situation. He's just like, yeah, maybe it's a confidence boost. Like, yeah, I got traded for Luka Doncic, but at the same time, nobody really wanted this. And it's a crazy thing. But yeah, as far as well, before I get to the roster, sorry. The thing Nico Harrison said in the press conference too was that he's like, oh yeah, I just want to give a ton of credit to Rob Pelinka for keeping this, basically a secret, right? Keeping this on the low. They've been talking for 3 weeks about this trade, and they've had intense discussions. Why are you keeping this a secret if you're that intent on trading Luka Doncic? Why are you not shopping it? Why don't you just put it out there and see what offers you can get? Why does it have to be the Lakers? Why does it have to be Rob Pelinka as the only guy you're talking to? So you're telling me the only player out of all the research you've done, all the contracts you've looked at, all the players you've looked into, you're telling me AD is the only guy you're giving up Luka Doncic for? I do not buy it. I don't. With that being said, their roster is obviously solid, right? Now you're looking at the starting 5 as Kyrie. Again, this is when healthy. Kyrie, Clay, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, and then your pick of either Gafford or Lively, right? And they've got some solid depth. You'll have Dinwiddie, Dante Exum, who just came back last game as additional depth, Jaden Hardy, Max Christie as your guards, just off the bench. Lively, they gave away Klebo, who was not really like a glue piece off the bench, but just a guy who could fit a couple different roles. But they've got solid depth. It's just going to be an adjustment period. It's going to be an adjustment getting used to this. And that's the other crazy part about it, right? Is like, normally you give guys time to mesh, mold, build team chemistry. They just got all these guys last year and made it to the finals, kind of on like a short run, right? To a short period of time to build the team chemistry and learn each other's tendencies and do all this. And they made it to the finals on that. This year, they just ran into a ton of injury issues. Like the injury bug hit them, and that's why they're only sitting at a few games above 500. Whereas earlier in the year, when they were healthy for the most part, they were sitting at number 2 or 3 in the Western Conference. So, it's going to take them some time. People are still injured. Lively's out for a couple months. AD obviously has got this minor abdominal injury, but it's tough.
To your point, like fans coming for the GM's head, it's a fireable offense. It really is a fireable offense. Just the fact alone that you were trading with your buddy who you had a cup of coffee with, 3 weeks ago, and you didn't tell anybody at all. And it's like, that's a snake move in my opinion, because he knew.
Mm-hmm.
Deep down, he knew. He's like, oh, the backlash I'm going to get if I mention, the thought of trading Luka, because it's how everybody else feels. And you kept that from them. So I think it's 100% a fireable offense for that, him being shady like that. And then the fact that you don't even shop him. Like you said, a player of Luka's magnitude, I don't need to give the whole spiel, just generational talent. I wouldn't take 10 picks and the other team's best player for him. That's me. You don't put him on the market and let teams come to you and give you the best package that they could put together, because I guarantee you there's going to be far more better packages out there than what you got from the Los Angeles Lakers. So that it is a fireable offense. Those two things, those two aspects to this trade, and the fact that he kept that from everybody. And it's like this new ownership group in there now. Like, how does Mark Cuban feel about this? Like, Mark Cuban's got to be heartbroken. I'd have to think. He doesn't know shit about this. And how do you think he feels after he gave up? I don't know what the portion, the share that he gave up in the whole thing, how that went down in the business aspect of things. But he has to be just shell shocked, heartbroken, as we all are. I want to talk about the Lakers now. Just from the Lakers' point of view, talked about the trade for Anthony Davis. I believe it was 2018 when that happened. They gave up all those picks and players. It was like Ingram, Lonzo, all these different guys for AD. When he said he wasn't going to re-sign in New Orleans. And again, that wasn't the case here. Luka never made it known that he wasn't going to re-sign in Dallas a year and a half from now. And I want to talk about that contract as well. But just talking about the Lakers, this team was so far back after what they gave up, between the whole LeBron and AD era in Los Angeles. They were going all out year in, year out, giving up all these future assets. They didn't have anything left. Besides, I believe they recuperated a pick, got the 2029, which they just traded to Dallas, and then they have 2031. Besides that, it's like this team gave up everything for LeBron. They were so far, like, nobody thought the Lakers were going to win it all this year. Because it's like when LeBron and AD are both out there playing and they're healthy, it's like it's nice. It's like it looks like a good team, but that team's still going to get swept by Denver in the playoffs. Like, we never saw the Lakers as being, finals contenders, and they damn sure didn't have a future. It's like once LeBron's gone, good luck. You're going to rely on AD being your best player and having to play every night. And he's going to be, 33, 34 by then? I don't think so. Like, this team's future was absolutely shot. And you just completely brought life back into that organization. Just, the dreaded or beloved, however you feel about them, Los Angeles Lakers. They had no future ahead of them. They put all their eggs in LeBron, AD, Clutch Sports, Rich Paul basket. And now you gave them just complete new rejuvenation, new life with Luka Doncic because of the value that he has and how he, like I said, he makes everybody better around him. The Lakers have got a good squad, and between him and LeBron, like, good luck, in my opinion. You got those two spreading the floor and just how smart, like, intellectually aware they are out there on the court. Arguably the two most the two guys in the league that you think of when it comes to just, ball IQ out there. And now they're on the same team. Like, how easy is it going to be to play with those two out there? That's scary in itself, I think. Like, obviously the Lakers lose a lot at the rim and defensively. And now they got two of the biggest floppers and whiners in the league, arguably, on the same team. That's another thing to think about when it talks about the negatives with Luka. But talk to me about the Lakers, how you feel about them. Just how are you going to feel? Do you fear this team when they come to Dallas and Luka's just pissed off? He's going to want blood for Dallas getting rid of him. How scared do you think this Lakers team is now on paper?
Well, yeah, I mean, on paper, they still need to make another move. They need to go get rim protection. Jackson Hayes won't cut it, and he's hurt right now. So they have another move or two that they need to make in order to, I think, be in the conversation of making a run. But then again, right, if you have Luka Doncic and LeBron James, what makes you think they can't make a run? They've both done it before with a lot less, right? So, I mean, they still have solid players like Austin Reeves, and that's something we didn't
how
even
is
bring
Austin
up.
Reeves not a guy in the package?
How
Like,
is
how is
Austin
he
Reeves not
not
in that?
brought up?
It should have been Austin Reeves and Max Christie and somebody else like Dorian Finney-Smith, who Dallas loves. He was a fan favorite. Now I know the Lakers just got him, so I don't know if they, had to wait a certain time period to be able to offload him again. I don't know how that works with the specifics, but if he was available and could have been moved, he should have been part of that. I just don't understand why it was just Max Christie on the supporting cast and that was it, right? So Austin Reeves should have definitely been in that conversation, but so that's kind of what it's around, right? Like, that's the Lakers core for the next few years until LeBron retires is Reeves, Luka, LeBron, and then they've got good pieces like Finney-Smith, Jackson Hayes if he's there, Don Connect, obviously the rookie out of Tennessee. So, he could have been part of that deal too. I would have been a little bit more excited, but they still have a couple moves they need to make. But yeah, if let's say the Mavs get healthy, right, and they go on a run and snag the 3 or 4 seed in the West, and the Lakers sneak in, with Luka and LeBron leading the way, they sneak in and somehow there's a first round matchup. I'm not confident about that. Are you kidding me? I don't want to see Luka in the first round. If you're anybody in general, you don't want to see Luka in the first round, let alone a revenge tour. You know what I mean? Like, the first time he plays in Dallas, they're going to do, a nice display and play a great video for him. And, thank you so much, Luka. But deep down, he's going to be like, thank you. But deep down, he's going to be like, I can't wait to fucking cook these guys, these fucking losers. What a joke. What a joke. So, yeah, I mean, the Lakers have moves to make still. And,
But they're completely let off the hook in this whole thing. Because I talk about the assets that they didn't have. They're completely let off the hook with just how much they just ripped off Dallas. Like, a trade is supposed to be equal value. You're giving up this, percentage value for this percentage value. They got completely bamboozled in this trade. The Dallas Mavericks did, excuse me. And the Lakers just simply got let off the hook. Like, just like that. And it's like, of course, it's the Lakers, like the
Yep.
dreaded Los Angeles Lakers, who you either love them or you hate them. And it's going to be sickening. Like, I know for you, it's just going to be sickening seeing him out there in that purple gold. Like,
Yep.
it's not going to be nice.
On the Bill Simmons pod last night, they went over it and they talked about the Lakers just do this. The Lakers do this like every decade, right? Dating way back when they got Kareem. Then it was Elgin Baylor. Then it was Jerry West. Magic Johnson was not along the same lines as like a player acquisition like that. But, Kobe fell in the lap. But then they got Shaq. Then they got Pau Gasol. Then they got LeBron. Then they got AD. And now they get Luka. It's like, dude, how are they the one fucking organization who just keeps pulling this shit off decade after decade? It just is. They need to get looked into. They're scamming. There's something fishy going on. Fuck the Lakers and fuck Nico Harrison. I mean that respectfully. I want to give this time to marinate. I want to give it a chance before I start freaking out on Nico and telling him, to go find another job because, like I said before earlier, he's done a great job building this roster to what it is, but this is just a crazy move. And I didn't even touch on the player contracts. And I'm sorry, I'm going a little off topic here. I'm going back to Dallas, but I didn't even touch on the player contracts. Kyrie Irving, everybody knows how he's had his kind of like, I don't want to say mental issues, but he's had his issues, right? With commitment to playing with certain things going on. He's got a player option for next year. With all this shit going on, are you sure he's going to accept that player option and come right back? Anthony Davis, you have him locked up for 3 years. Then he's got a player option for, guess what, $67 million. So you were worried about paying Luka. You're definitely paying AD. And the thing with Luka too,
At 34.
Yeah, 34. The thing with Luka with the Supermax is apparently they weren't confident he was going to take it, and all these other teams are lining up to make it run at him. Like,
that's just sounds like the worst excuse. I'm sorry. It doesn't.
Yeah.
There's no credibility to them using that in their defense. It just sounds like the lamest excuse out there. Who is not going to accept $345 million from the fan base, the team that brought you in? They love you. There's no speculation that he's unhappy in Dallas. What gave you that
impression?
Exactly.
Right?
That he wasn't going to sign that. And I'm okay. So if you want to use the argument, well, we just didn't believe in his commitment to his fitness, all these things, blah, blah, blah. Like, look around the NBA. Do you see the contracts that are being signed? And you're afraid to give Luka the Supermax? I guarantee you, if you look at all of the contracts in the league, nobody's going to think about you overpaying for Luka Doncic. I promise you that. Because that generational player who you just don't. We've seen star players of teams. It's just automatic. It's like, oh yeah, they'll get the super. There's maybe like you can have the conversation with your friends. It's like, well, should they or shouldn't they? More times than not, I'd say just about all the time, player in their prime by that team at whoever they're playing for, they're giving them that supermax for them to stay long term. Like, it's going to happen. And then if they get happy down the road, there's a trade, that it is what it is. But you're at least giving him the supermax. Yep. And then whatever happens from there happens. It just sounds like the worst excuse, and I hate it. I hate when the contract is brought into it like it should have any kind of impact on this trade, on you blowing this.
So that's what makes me so skeptical about the whole trade, is because and the money wasn't the issue, right? Like that was brought up in the press conference, and they were like, what made you think about it about giving him the supermax? And Nico was like, it wasn't, like we would have to think about giving him the supermax. Like, they would have given it to him. It was that they weren't confident he was going to sign it. For some reason, Nico and whoever else was in the conversation, apparently, and he didn't come out and say this, but this is what all the signs are pointing to. You were saying that other teams were gearing up to make a run at him. So to me, that makes you seem like you're not confident he wants to stay. But again, there were no reports or anything, no rumblings that he wasn't happy there. So it's like, why wouldn't he? He's at that point sacrificing $100 million probably to go elsewhere. So it just doesn't make sense. And For the other aspect of it with the roster too, because if you're again trying to get out, he said he's trying to get out ahead of it. They were trying to get ahead of this to avoid a tumultuous summer, was the quote. How are you getting out ahead of it by only getting one first round pick? What I don't understand. And then, so besides the Kyrie player option, let's say he accepts it. They have this core intact next year too. But after that, they've got no contracts for Kyrie after next year. So going into the 26-27 season, no, Kyrie's not under contract. PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, Quentin Grimes, all not under contract. Klay Thompson has a player option for like 17 mil. He can decline. And then guess what you're stuck with? A 34-year-old, 35-year-old Anthony Davis at 67 million and nobody besides Derek Lively. That's if that's if all those guys leave and they don't resign any of them. So I don't and actually funny side note is they're still paying JaVale McGee like 2 point something million a year when they cut him. So they're paying him and two and some change every year for like the next 3 or 4 years. That was a funny thing I got when I was doing some research into it. So I don't know, man. If I think that the only way people stop shitting on the trade is when the Mavs start winning. So they better fucking win.
Max Christian's going to have to become a hell of a player.
Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? Like, if they win a championship, I think Nico gets a pass, but that's it. That's it. And that's a hell of an off trade, right? Like, if Nico said if he doesn't make this trade, they re-sign Luka, give him the super max, he'll get all the, he'll get credit for doing nothing. But he didn't want to sit on his hands and take the chance of letting Luka walk for nothing. So he goes and makes this deal. But again, if you're that worried about him walking, why are you only talking to Rob Pelinka? Right? So I'm just skeptical of the whole thing, and it still doesn't make sense to me. The return doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense. So being a Dallas Mavericks fan, it's hard to. And again, Anthony Davis is a hell of a player, but it's like we should be excited to get someone like Anthony Davis, but you're giving up Luka Doncic. It just makes you sick. Like it just.
You brought up Kyrie, and I've heard rumors in the past because there's been about Kyrie going back playing LeBron. We've heard that rumor of maybe Kyrie for AD. Like that would have been something that if happens, nobody's freaking out. Like
No,
I feel like that's a good trade. That's a lot closer trade in value than Luka for AD. Yep. So it's like, why wasn't that discussed? Why did you just put Luka out there? He's the younger player. He's the more generational, I know Kyrie's an amazing talent, maybe the best ball skills we've ever seen. But Luka still, you don't put that guy out there. And if you do put him out there, you put him out there and you make it known, you make it loud, so then you get the best in return. Nobody's selling a house after talking to one person. You know what I mean? Nope. It doesn't happen that way.
He's not Eddie Curry. You know what I mean? We're not talking like you want to talk about the conditioning shit. Luka's not Eddie Curry, right? Eddie Curry got fat and out of shape after he had a lot of hype, and the Knicks traded him after giving up. I think they took him top 5 in the draft or some shit like that. But like Luka's done it, dude. The fucking kid has done it. He's taken you to the finals, Western Conference Finals twice, while not being committed to his conditioning. 25 years old. There's more to it. I'm waiting. I'm just waiting now. In the next week or two, I'm waiting for more information to come out. Jason Kidd and Luka haven't even talked yet. Apparently, they've just missed each other and haven't even spoke yet about the trade. But I'm waiting to hear from Luka. It's going to be an interesting sound bit.
That it is. And the trade deadline is still there was still a few days before the deadline. There's still some time before the NBA trade deadline. So Who knows? Maybe the Lakers do something else crazy. Maybe they trade LeBron. They just handed over the keys to Luka at this point. It's like LeBron's perspective. I'd imagine he's not happy that they traded AD, and he didn't know anything about it at all. He got blindsided in this. He's not happy about that. So maybe, they plan on even moving on I don't know.
Right.
But like I said, if it is LeBron and Luka out there, that's a scary deal. They're still going to need to make some moves to help out their front court. But just mind blown, this whole thing. I'm glad we hopped on and I think I got everything out on this trade. Honestly, there was it's one of those things that you're just going to look back thinking about it, and you're going to be like, wow, that really happened. Like Luka Doncic got traded in not even the prime of his career yet, and he's already a perennial MVP candidate. Just took the team in the finals. It's just there'll probably be a 30 for 30 about it down the road too. There's going to be a lot surrounding this trade. Now and in the future, it's going to consume some time.
Yeah, this could go down as potentially one of the worst trades of all time.
Yes.
It has that potential.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you guys for listening. Luka Doncic is a Los Angeles Laker. Anthony Davis is Dallas Maverick. Thank you for listening to the New Score podcast. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. We have our Super Bowl preview also coming out this week. And we're also going to talk about some of these NFL coaching hirings. Just another depressing segment, I'm sure, as Tyler's going to talk about his Dallas Cowboys. But we'll get to that. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Peace.
When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score as soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll tour. When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score as soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock.